Israelis are still struggling to digest events of last week that spared the nation another war in Gaza, but left many frustrated and fearful that it's just a matter of time until the rockets once again start raining down. With so many strident differences of opinion in this often messy democracy here, there's one thing all Israelis agree on, and that's the technological, life-saving, locally developed wonder called Iron Dome. I'm delighted to be joined by IDF Reserve Brigadier General Shachar Shohat, a former commander of the Israel Air Defense Force, who led air defenders in Israel's last two wars in Gaza. And Shachar, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So we all heard the numbers, 460 rockets and mortars that were launched, 100 intercepts, and to the layman it might not sound like a great batting average, but tell us why this is actually translating into a high 80s or even a 90% success rate this last time around.
Okay, first of all, of course, it's not a game, it's a real battle.
Yes.
And the figures are familiar along the last decade since the 2006 Second Lebanon War, where about 4,000 rockets was shot towards Israel, but only 1,000, which is a quarter of them, was relevant to engage. The basic principle of the Iron Dome...
And when you say relevant to engage, you mean it does not threaten Israeli life or property?
Because the basic principle of Iron Dome and how it's designed is, first of all, after the initial detection, is to evaluate the ground intercept point. And only if the predicted impact point on the ground will be on a defended area, this is the only time that the system will engage the target.
Right, right.
So about 100 of these 400 incoming rockets
were actually deemed a threat.
Deemed a threat. Exactly.
And we're talking about high 80s or even a 90% success rate?
We're close to the average of 90% of the rate of success.
Now, Uzi Rubin was here last week, and he explained how Hamas and the Islamic Jihad tried and failed to overwhelm the system with repeated saturation salvo strikes. But there's also two sides of this coin, in that the experience of the recent escalation will allow Israel to learn and to upgrade the Iron Dome for the next time around, correct?
Yes, Israel, the Israeli Defense Force, the Israeli Air Force, and of course the defense industry, in this case Rafael, are debriefing every event, successful and unsuccessful. And after the deep learning, taking lesson learned from each event, and of course improve the system from time to time. I think we stretched the capability of the Iron Dome in the last few years above and behind, and vice versa. For the short rocket...
It was intercepting mortars this time around as well.
Yes, and if you take also the professionalism that the warrior, the air defense warrior gained, I think this is the outcome of the professionalism of the operator and the improvement of the system.
Now, during your tenure, you stood up the bulk of the Iron Dome force that Israel deploys today, and I want to ask you about rules of engagement. Is the system firing against targets automatically, or must a man be in the loop, a commander, to approve each and every target?
The system was designed to work either automatically, fully automatically, semi-automatically, or manual mode.
Okay.
And the doctrine is an outcome of the timeline of that the operator have to engage. Most of the time, we will work it semi-manually. Means the operator is monitoring and approving the recommendation of the system. But if there is no timeline, he can always go into automatic mode and operate the system automatically.
Now, is this also true in the case of David Sling and the higher layers of Israel's defense network?
In the higher layer, the timeline is much more affordable.
Right, Israel has the luxury of tens of additional seconds or maybe even minutes.
Yes, and for that, the operator have a lot of time to intervene. So in the upper tier system, mainly it will be semi-automatically and not automatically.